All right, guys. So, welcome to another episode of the Imperfectly Perfect podcast, where each week I'm joined by some of the world's most recognized and renowned faces in the entertainment industry, on the sports field, and in the corporate sector, sharing their own truths and their personal journeys. This episode, I chat with none other than Sam Otto, actor and singer who left Drama Centre London a few months early in 2016 for a part in Richard Wilson's Fract at Chichester Festival Theatre, and during rehearsal secured the lead in Peter Kosminksky's explosive drama, The State, which went on to receive a BAFTA nomination in the miniseries category. Following the pre-release, Sam was recognised as one of Screen Daily Stars of Tomorrow 2017 and as the pilot episode of Snowpiercer on TNT and Netflix, which went on to shoot 3 seasons over the following 4 years, with the third wrapping in Vancouver in July 2021, with a fourth to be shot in 2022. Sam has just finished a run of James Graham's play, Best of Enemies, at the Young Vic Theatre in London. So firstly, welcome to the show, Sam.
Thanks so much, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Nice to be
here. So when I reached out to you, obviously, this random guy, you guys get opportunities, all this kind of stuff. I was speaking to somebody the other day and I was like, so this random guy just reaches out talking about a premise behind mental health, and some people's dealt with mental health, some people haven't. So a big thing about the IPC is about getting to know the person behind the profession. We have to see recognized public figures on stage, on screens, and think their life is somewhat perfect. IPC is about uncovering that and stuff in those conversations around not just mental health or well-being, but understanding a lot of times, albeit some amazing professions of what you love, they don't always come easy. So I like to know about the person behind the profession. So can you just give us a brief journey? Because I know you're a keen sportsman, a musician, and then you dropped out of doing English at university to go to drama school.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So my journey to what I'm doing now was quite, I guess, quite a kind of long one. Yeah, I did like a lot of sport and stuff at school. I didn't really have a direct idea about what I wanted to do with my life when I was at school. I loved performance and that sort of thing, but I didn't come from a place where it was like really felt like a legitimate career choice. So I went to university. I took a gap year first, then I went to uni with the intention of just doing a degree that would give me options. So I did English and philosophy. But when I got there, I felt I didn't really feel as though I was really clicking with the people I was there with. You know, I felt like I had a different, perhaps in my mind, compared to some of the people I was there with, a different idea about what I maybe wanted from my life. I didn't really feel like I was in the right place. So after a few months, I was like, I spoke to my parents about it, and they were like, "How are you feeling?" and stuff. And I said, because I clearly had it in my head anyway, and I said, I wish I could have or should have gone to drama school. And then my parents, thankfully, were very supportive of me, because my parents aren't like, in like big kind of corporate jobs or anything where it's been a sort of a clear setup from day one in terms of promotion and progression. They've had quite kind of diverse and eclectic experiences in their work, which has resulted in a lot of uncertainty in our lives and stuff. So they were kind of like, well, listen, nothing's certain anyway. So if you want to try and do something which is a bit of a dream, then why not? So thankfully, I had their support, and I just was like, all right, well, I'll give it a go then. And off I went. And as soon as I started doing that, I felt in my sort of heart, I was like, yeah, this is really what I at least want to be throwing my life at, with the hope of maybe using it and having it as a career or a lifestyle someday. And thankfully, other people thought the same. And then I ended up getting into drama school, and then once I was at drama school, I was really like, yeah, I'm gonna commit to this. I'm gonna throw everything at it. I don't care if it takes me like decades to even make any money or anything. I just want to give it a really good go, because it's just so exciting to be chasing a dream. I've done a lot of music and stuff along the way as well, but I'm hoping to kind of marry those things more as I go forwards. But yeah, the past few years have been incredibly exciting. I've been very fortunate. Do you want me to keep talking about what happened after drama school?
Yeah, keep going. Yep.
Yeah. So because drama school was just a whole thing. You know, we spent 3 years there, and I applied to only a handful of places. 6 schools I applied to. Each of them I thought would have been an amazing place to be, would give me the best chance of success in the industry afterwards, mainly because of exposure to professionals in the industry, agents and casting directors and stuff. Even getting to drama school is incredibly competitive. And in fact, it's probably one of the most competitive parts of it, because if you can get into a really good drama school, then you have, at least you have exposure to industry professionals that are like at the top of their game in London. So I was like, okay, well, the first thing I can do because again, I didn't have any way in. I didn't come from a background where we have a lot of people in, or anybody in the arts or in this industry, in entertainment industry. So I didn't really have anybody to kind of open a door for me. And so if you're in that position, as many people are, I guess you want to go into this world, then thankfully in this country we have quite a good system set up, because now that most of the drama schools have student finance attached to them through universities, so you can get a student loan. So you even if you're from a background you can't support yourself with money, you can get loans to help you through. And I was in that category. So and there's a lot more. There's more and more things out there now for people that come from disadvantaged backgrounds. You can actually get into drama school, because I think probably historically drama school and acting as a profession is quite a kind of privileged world, really. Normally you have to have connections or background or money or whatever to get into it. I don't come from that sort of background, so I had to go this sort of route of the only thing I could do was like, well, at least I can actually save up some money and get a job, and I can pay for my drama school auditions and get in that way, if I can get in. And so that was the process for all that. And then it meant I had a loan and a maintenance grant and all that when I was at maintenance loan, not grant, sorry, when I was at drama school. And the time there, with 3 years there, was incredible for me, because I had no sort of prior background in acting or in anything in terms of stage or screen. So I kind of soaked everything up. Absolutely loved it. It was an incredible experience. And I had a year of 16 people, so we got very, very close. We spent all of our time together in all of our classes, and it was just like the best. I suddenly felt like in my life I was like, yeah, I'm doing something. I kind of know where I want to be now, or at least where I want to be going. Whereas my whole life up to that point, I've been dabbling in loads of stuff. Like, as you touched upon, I did a lot of sport and stuff growing up. Maybe considered doing that at one point. Maybe considered doing like graphic design at one point. That was something I was interested in for a while. Maybe considered languages and stuff like that. So I was really interested in a lot of things. But suddenly when I was at drama school, I was like, yeah, this is where because in a way, acting, you can combine all those things. You know, I think for a lot of people who are interested or have a lot of interests or a lot of kind of facets to what they like to do, that's where this job is great, because you're always going to be playing. Well, if you're lucky enough to be working, you'll be playing different parts, so you can use so much of yourself. And that's what I loved about this. I love about this because, you know, I'm quite a physical person, as well as being quite maybe sometimes quite intellectual, but also quite creative and quite musical. So there's all these things I can use. And I found that in drama school, and it's just like the best kind of a real exploration of myself. And even though it's like perhaps a stereotype to be like broken down at drama school and then built up again, that's kind of what I'd heard about it before I got there. But I was like, I'm not sure they're not really gonna do that to us, are they? But when I got there, it didn't happen deliberately, in terms of like the teachers and staff weren't trying to do that, but I found that it kind of happened to me anyway. I had to reevaluate a bit about who I was, and just by nature of trying to get better at it, trying to understand and trying to learn more, I did have definitely like a break moment in my third year. I kind of had a moment where I was like, I can't do this. I'm it's not going to happen. I like had a massive breakdown in front of one of my teachers, because he was trying to push me to discover more from this scene I was writing. We had to do little characters where we wrote our own characters and scenes, and we had to perform it in front of the whole school the next week. And I got to a point where I just physically couldn't get through my little scene, and I was like, it's not going to happen. I can't do it. And then I was like imagining in my head going out in front of the school on Monday and being like, guys, look, sorry, haven't got anything done. I can't do it. And I had that was like a moment. I still think of that moment as being like a moment of challenge and maybe change for me, because I had to really I had to go home and really sort of like sort myself out and go, no, that you can do this. You know, you can do it. And get down to the business of like sorting it out, working it out. And then I went and did it on Monday. That's probably the best I'd ever done it. And it was just like opened up a level of confidence in myself that I hadn't maybe had before, because I was like, I went through that really dark moment and I came through it and was able to use it and get stronger because of it. And that, I think, fueled the end of my year. And I had a really great experience with casting directors and agents. I got my amazing agent pick me up from my showcase. And then, within a few months, I was out in this play, which was great. And then a few months later, I got this part in this insane series called The State, which you touched upon in the bio thing, which was an amazing show. Peter Kosminksy, and it was about young British Muslims who go to the Islamic State. Very obviously contentious and difficult subject matter, but handled in a really, really careful and wonderful way to try and educate people rather than anything else. And that was a Channel 4 drama, and I was playing like the male lead in it. So as a young actor coming out of drama school, it was a massive coup for me, especially given my background and the way my sort of look, a part in which the person has to look a bit like me, but a great part with a leading element to it, and color, and sort of in terms of the journey of the character, and an emotional core was something I wasn't necessarily expecting or hoping to play for a few years after drama school. So it was a real coup. And then because that was a pretty big and very well received show, opened a lot of doors for me, and that's where Snowpiercer came from. Almost directly from that, the casting director saw the trailer for that, she saw the trailer for it, and then she wanted to see me for the part in Snowpiercer, which has taken me from all the way from 2017 to where we are now. So it's been
It's been a ride for you. And what's that like? I always say it's when I get to talk to people who are in the public eye in terms of entertainment. So I love the aspect that you spoke about, that you actually came from nothing in relatively terms of having a background within entertainment, and there are loans and things like that, because there are a lot of people who obviously get in touch with us and think they can never attain what some of you guys have done. To know that story behind the scenes is great. But I mean, what's it like when you go from kind of that moment of obscurity, would I say? You're just going about your school, you're doing your plays, and then you get a TV show, and then suddenly you're thrust into this limelight. Again, that's a whole new, different realm, I suppose. Everybody knows your name. You're here, you're there. Everyone's coming towards you. You don't know who's real, who's not real. How do you deal with that?
Well, yes. I mean, I haven't really hit that sort of level where it's been like a changing my lifestyle yet, especially the past few years, because Snowpiercer came out in 2020. And so what's been funny, that's been a very well received and well viewed show. I mean, a lot of people have seen it, actually. I've been surprised by how many. But because it happened during the pandemic, it meant that it was like difficult really to feel how many people had actually seen it, because we were all indoors when we didn't go out. When we did go out, we were wearing masks. So actually, and we're still wearing masks out and about. So I haven't really felt that sense of, and I don't know if I would. I'm not like one of the biggest parts. Now, I've had a few things happen over the past few years where certainly that profile has been growing, and I've sensed what it can feel like. But I've only had the nice aspects of it so far, because I'm not like too far that way to be like recognized all over the shop. So when I do get recognized, actually, it tends to be people that are like have really enjoyed whatever it is, because obviously they're quite big fans to know who I am in it. And The State, which is that show that came out, and everyone who had seen that tended to be somebody that was quite kind of politically aware, quite interested in like the Middle Eastern conflict, that sort of thing, or what was going on with all that stuff. So actually, it tends to be, at least in my experience so far, tends to be people who recognize me or contact me or whatever tend to be people that are just interested and kind of supportive of what's happened or the work, rather than trying to capitalize on something, you know. But I have sensed that, and it'd be a very slippery slope that it can easily flip, I reckon, overnight. But I haven't had too many sort of negative sides of it yet. I've only experienced the nice bits, which tend to sort of open doors and opportunities rather than create a difficult life.
Well, I never even thought about the mask thing. Obviously, like you go out, normally you get recognized, you've got a mask on, nobody knows anything. But Snowpiercer, I must say, like it's so funny when I speak to people who are on shows and everything, but Snowpiercer, absolutely well received, incredible. It's funny because I've got good mates who are really good mates with, and I can never pronounce his last name, but Aaron Gleneen, Australian from Sydney. So we've spoke quite a bit because I know quite a few of his close friends, but he's in that. He got us onto it. And funnily enough, I was hesitant because I'd seen the movie, and it was one of those movies where I was like, okay, I'm into this. And then my wife, she was like, let's watch the show. Hooked.
Really?
So that was quite a good move for you, because did they approach you to sing in it as well? Because that's where you use vocals in one episode.
Yeah, no, well, they not initially. I mean, obviously, like I said, we started it in 2017. We did a pilot, then they picked it up in 2018, and we shot the first season, which the whole thing changed dramatically. So I actually auditioned for a very different. It was the same part, but he changed quite a lot from the pilot to the first season. We did the first season, and then Can you hear that? That's
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry about
That's
that.
all right.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, the first season we did all that, and then the second season, I had a conversation with the showrunner, and he'd seen some of my stuff I put on my Instagram. I sing and play sometimes on my Instagram, and he'd seen some of that, and he was like, I think it might be interesting if we like suddenly bring something out at the end of the season, like a really surprising turn for the character. And initially I was a little bit hesitant because a bit like, that's something I do in my own, and obviously it's a great opportunity to share it on the stage of this show, but it didn't really strike me at the time of as fitting the character. And obviously as it's been received, it is a really surprising moment because you do not expect that from that character at all.
Yeah.
So I was trying to figure out in my head how that would work as delivering that moment as the character. I didn't want it to feel like it was just like the actor using something he can do in the character, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because part of what the weird thing about doing a long running serial TV show is that you don't get the story until you start doing it, and then when we're doing it, we only get the episodes like just before we start shooting each episode. So it's quite difficult sometimes to plot in your head like who the character is if you don't really know what they're doing. Like in terms of if you're doing a play or if you're doing a film or something, you have the whole story of your character written down, so you can look at it and go like, okay, this is what that person does, this is what they say and what they feel and whatever, so I can start to work out who that person is because of what they do. One of the things we studied at drama school was about character versus action, and that's how we behave in life as well. It's like our character is defined by our actions and our actions are defined by our character. So if you haven't got any of the actions of your character, it's very hard to work out who that person is. So you make your choices about who the person is based on what you have. So that's what I did on obviously in season 1. And then in season 2, now I have this end where suddenly he starts playing the piano and singing. And I'm like, okay. And I reevaluate, rethink about maybe who this person is, who this guy is. But ultimately, that's just my own little process. And what the audience will receive is their own thing as well. So actually, it was a lovely, lovely moment to share something of myself within the character, within the show. And yeah, it was great. And obviously, it was university, I think. Obviously, I haven't heard people that didn't like it. Only people that liked it spoke to me about it. But yeah, but university, from what I've heard, people were really like moved by it and quite pleasantly surprised in many ways. And yeah, it was just a really nice moment to have as part of the show. I had to kind of tell myself like, just don't overthink it. It doesn't really matter. It's just like a lovely, surprising moment for this character and for the relationship that's going on between Oz and LJ. So yeah, it was great. And I really enjoyed it. And I really liked
it was because it was written in so great just at the dinner, and like we were surprised, but it just, as I say, it was great. And when you spoke about what you do on your Instagram with your singing, there was one like, you've clearly got pipes, but Amazing Grace, Grace, man, I was like, all right,
the one I just did recently. Oh, man, thanks,
absolutely amazing. Anybody that can sing a cappella, just Amazing Grace. Just, I don't know. I think as I'm getting older, I'm getting softer, and I'm just like, just because I can't sing for shit. I'm a Yorkshire man, obviously, so I'll be honest. But yeah, no, I think it's amazing. Just in terms with obviously COVID coming and the pandemic, we spoke about it prior to the podcast a little bit, how it affected everybody. But from going from that full-on work schedule, how was it to have to pull back? Was you able to keep on doing projects on the side, or was that the singing that got you through that time through your Instagram and connecting with people?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I touched upon that on my post that you commented on a while back. But I had a bit of the past 2 years through COVID and everything's been really difficult. A lot of stuff kind of changed. I had up to that point, my life seemed to be kind of, it was always a little bit uncertain in this job. Obviously, you're kind of going from job to job, and like, the money kind of comes in a big go, or doesn't come in at all, and then you're kind of having to like, is it going to keep going? Is this career going to keep moving? But it felt really positive and exciting. And in terms of the career, I was in a great place when COVID happened. I was really, really fortunate compared to a lot of the world who are, jobs were getting cut, or people didn't know what was going to happen, whether they were going to have any money or furlough and all that stuff, and even having a roof over your head, and whether you're going to get the virus. It was a crazy time. And I was really fortunate because we were doing the second season. And then we had to stop just before we finished to everyone got sent home for COVID, but they picked it up for a third only a couple of months after that. So it meant that I was like still essentially employed with the promise of another whole season of employment to come. So I had this kind of period of time where I was like, okay, well, I'm in a great safe position because I have work to come, and I'm still being covered by this one that's just happened. And yeah, I mean, the strange thing about it was that I moved out of London. I moved all my stuff out of London, and I moved home with my family. And it actually meant I had this kind of golden period where I spent all this time with my family, where I had not spent with them for like years. I hadn't seen them, spent time with them like for a long period of time, for ages. My little brother came back from university as well, and so me and him and my parents. My older brother only lives like half. I'm one of three brothers, so he lives at half an hour down the road.
Mm.
So we were able to see him as well. Because my parents at that point, they've moved since, but they lived out in the sort of small town in the country. So actually, we didn't have all this crazy stuff about, you know, lots of people in the cities and stuff. We could just actually go for a little walk down the road, and then just sort of stick to ourselves. But this kind of very isolated period where we were actually spending all this time together. But certainly, I felt a massive distance from my life in London and from the industry. And yeah, I ended up just spending a lot of time making music and this little like shed in the garden. I'm going to sit in there and make some music, play piano, and just sing and stuff, that has always been like a blessing, and it's always been like a meditative thing for me. That my pen is right here, just like sit down and play it all the time, which is really nice. And that, so yeah, and I was in that position of, like I said, I didn't have to. I was so fortunate I didn't have to worry too much, knowing that I had another season to come, and also because with a big juggernaut thing like Snowpiercer, like TNT, like Netflix, there wasn't that fear of them being able to like put the next season on. You know, if it was a play or something, that would be different, because you know, you didn't know what would happen. But with a show like that, they have so much money, they can just like, they get all the systems in place, they get all the tests and the masks and everything, and it was actually all the paperwork, and it was like you could kind of be secure in the knowledge that would happen. And then in that interim, I just had this kind of nice period of time with my family. But a lot of stuff happened in that year, and I had a lot of issues. I had this mega thing that happened with one of my closest friends. Like, basically, like I won't go into it, but essentially he kind of betrayed me in a big way, and he was like my closest friend, like my brother, and so I ended up like losing him as a confidant, as a friend, as somebody I could sort of go to, and that ended up meaning that I ended up feeling really distant from my whole friendship group, and they were all in London because I was out of London, and I'd been away out of the country as well. It meant that this distance grew between me and my friends. So I ended up, and I was fortunate to be with my family, because I ended up sort of, you know, being confiding in them and spending time with them. But certainly in terms of my kind of mental health and sort of social aspects of my mental health, in terms of my friend circle, I started to feel really cut off from that. And because I wasn't working either, I got into a kind of space of like, you know, it was a really tough, strange time. And I got into a new relationship just around the same time I had this thing with my friend, but we had a lot of issues, and we had recently ended our relationship a couple of months ago. But it was a few months ago now, and it was we used to argue and fight all the time, and it was a really intense period of time. And I ended up feeling like so kind of, yeah, really sort of in this sort of bubble of anxiety and stuff for a period of time. And yeah, music and just sort of like trying to find the joy in being creative as much as I could was a real blessing during that period. But again, as I said, I was really fortunate to not be in like a state of mind where I didn't know what I was going to be doing. So I'm very grateful for that.
And I mean, having your support network around you, your family, is the most important thing. That's what we try and tell people around here. I mean, as a guy, and that masculinity, and we're trying to hide things, is that something that as you've grown and you've experienced emotions, whether setbacks or whether stuff that you've been going through, is that something as a guy that you've been able to talk to people about?
Well, I definitely think that in this industry, being an actor, you know, generally people are much more emotionally available, because you know, if you're a performer, if you're whatever, singer as well, a musician as well, you know, everybody, you kind of have to be doing in order to. That's what we're doing, really. We're trying to we examine people and emotions and human behavior. We're trying to communicate that on screen or on stage or whatever. So you kind of have to have a bit of an understanding. And I've felt for sure that within my experience of working in this industry, spending more time with people who are performers, there's a bit more of an openness to be able to talk about those things. But at the same time, perhaps as a sort of overall generalization, people can be a bit more fickle, because again, the nature of what we do is fleeting. You know, it's like you come into a job, you stay there for a bit, and then you go off to another one and stay there for a bit. So I found that really difficult. I found that like I've got my old school friends from my home, and obviously my family. I'm very fortunate to have my whole family and stuff. But that's where the sort of stability in my life is. Whereas my friends and my relationships in this industry, especially the further up I get in it, inevitably comes, like I said, with a sense of like a fleeting nature to those relationships. They might feel intense for a period of time. Like this play I've just done, I had this wonderful group of people I've been working with, and it's felt like amazing, really like caring. They've been really supportive and great to me. I've been going through a lot of obviously stuff as I touched upon, but I also know that once it's over, I might not see them again, or not for ages, or maybe not have that because it's so tied to the work that you're doing at the time. And like so yeah, my stability comes from my home friends, but with them they're not as emotionally available as my acting friends. So it's kind of this kind of strange duality. I've got the people I can really go to and talk to. One of my oldest friends, he's had a lot of kind of a journey with his own mental health as well, so he has like a lot of stuff I can really talk to him. He's my oldest friend from school. And then my mum, to be honest, my mum is like the person I would always really sort of talk to about everything. She really understands, I think, and is able to, we have a real kind of talk about it. And I do think that as I've got older, my relationship with my parents has got closer and deeper, as well as my relationship with my friends. And as I said, as a man, I think I had a like many years, especially when I was younger, when I was like, I'm not going to cry. Like, that's not something I'm going to do. When I was like young, my parents had some difficulty in their marriage when I was like 14. And I think it was about that point where I said to myself, oh no, maybe it was even younger than that. But anyway, I think it was about that point where I realized I almost had an inability to connect with my emotional kind of core. And it took me a while to reconnect with it. And then I do think when I went to drama school and had to start exploring more of those things, I unlocked some stuff. And then as I've progressed through my career as an actor, I've again unlocked more and more of it, because it's really helpful, obviously, as a performer and an actor to have access to that. And in the past 2 years, I've probably been, like I said, more emotional than I've ever been in my life, because so much stuff has happened. I lost my gran last year, and I was away in Canada when that happened, and I couldn't come back to be here with her, or to even go to her funeral. And I found that really hard. And obviously all my stuff with my mates, I found that incredibly isolating and felt so lonely. And then with my relationship just gone as well, that was incredibly intense and up and down massively as well. So a lot of emotional kind of outlay. But I've come to a point now in my life and in my sort of journey where I definitely have access to it. At least I'm able to let it out, in a hopefully in a healthy and sort of positive way. But,
and I know you mentioned like you was it you studying or into philosophy? Have you really delved, or do you still delve into that about now as you're getting older and you're moving through things? I said something the other day because it was a really good friend over in the US that said this to me, and he's a big TV personality, and he actually said, look, Glenn, he was like, this is a byproduct. He said, what you do, what I do about helping people, and a passion, that's where I found my happiness. This is a byproduct. I love it. But as I've got older, I've realized it doesn't matter fame, it doesn't matter money, it doesn't matter this. Your circles become closer and your happiness becomes in whatever it is that makes you feel alive each day.
Yeah.
What about yourself? Like, have you found with the outlook on life, has it changed as you've got older and I can't even say the word. Philosophical, mate.
yeah, I get what you mean. Like I did that little bit of time at uni doing philosophy. And one thing about studying philosophy was that it really opened my mind, or at least kind of made my mind sort of explode open. I was like, what? So what? It made me question everything. Actually, it's like, what does everything mean? Like, does anything really matter? That was the sort of stuff that made me think back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly as especially the past 2 years, especially during COVID, during what the pandemic has taught me, I've had to really think about what I want and what I really value in my life. And in many ways, I kind of thought to myself, it's like nothing really matters unless you have, at least in terms of how I feel, unless you have meaningful relationships and you can have, like a genuine closeness with people who care about you and you care about them. Because, like I said, with my best mate, I suddenly realized when all that happened that maybe he didn't really care about me as much as I thought he did. and he didn't care about me as much as I cared about him, because I was like, I would never do that. I'd never ever do that. And how could to you, like, how could you do that to me? I can't. I'm still unable to really understand. I don't think I ever will. But and that kind of made me think, well, that obviously made me question stuff a lot and confused me, because I thought to myself, well, if I truly believed he cared about me, but he actually didn't, then it makes me question a lot of things, my reality almost, you know. So yeah, for sure, like it made me really question and evaluate and think about what it really means to be like emotionally invested in somebody, and to be vulnerable to somebody, and to feel that they're vulnerable to you, and to actually trust somebody, like with everything, or with as much as you can offer, or you can. And it was nice actually being back with my family as well. We all had a lot of stuff happen with, you know, in terms of conversations we were having. We ended up having these like much deeper conversations than we'd ever had, about a lot of stuff that happened in the past and in the present, and how we all felt about stuff that maybe we hadn't spoken about so much before. Like we ended up talking about stuff like sex and like drugs and stuff. And in my family, we hadn't really had those conversations for years, because you know, I said I hadn't been at home for a long time. And back when I was in my like late teens or whatever, when you're maybe exploring those things, we wouldn't talk about it. And my parents come from my parents are Christians. My mum's a vicar in the church, so like perhaps as a kind of rule, we thought, or at least felt as young people growing up, that we maybe weren't supposed to be talking about or exploring those things. So we opened up a lot of that, and we had like these really cool conversations, which I think brought us all a lot closer. And especially with my thing that's going with my friend as well, I went into a lot of a different place than I'd been before. And so yeah, I certainly have been thinking much more deeply about what I want from or at least what I need from my relationships and from my friendships and my life. And as I said, it almost feels like everything else doesn't really matter at all, no matter how successful one is or whatever you're doing. Like obviously I've been in a career that can be very, very exciting. And but it can also be quite isolating. And I'm becoming more and more aware of that. Like I said, no matter how many people you're surrounded by, like the further up you get, the less they really, whether they like it or not, the less they really care about you as a person, and the more that you have a sort of value to people. And that's it. You know, once I'm obviously not there yet, but like I can see it and feel it happening. The more your kind of value increases, the less people will really care about you as a person. And so I have to be aware of that. And I think why it's very important, therefore, to keep the relationships with people that knew you from when you were younger or before all this happened close, because they know the real you.
It's amazing to listen. Like I love having these chats all the time, because even there you brought something else, and listening when you said, and it's something that I'd not even thought about you go in these intense relationships, and from an external point of view, we all see you on shows and we see you on red carpets thinking like you're the best of friends, but yeah, it's a work thing, and as soon as you move away, it's isolating. I've spoken to a couple of people who one's become a good friend, Wes Gear, and he was on Stadium. He was the lead guitarist for Korn and that. He was like 50, 100,000 people. And he said, when the lights go off, the cameras are done. It was like he's in his bedroom and he's just like,
it's weird, isn't it?
Because so isolating. Yeah, but everyone thinks like you've got it all. It's everything. And I mean, yeah, there's having gratitude for the opportunities and things that do come. But I think a lot of people do mistake that for thinking I'm going to have this ultimate happiness when I attain what so many people have on TV or musicians.
Yeah, I think it's like, I mean, obviously it's a very privileged position to be in, to find success in one of those industries, because it's incredibly difficult to get there. And so naturally, I mean, as I said, I've felt a bit of it, and I'm very grateful for how far I've come. And you get a sense of like satisfaction, I'd say. It's like, I'm proud to have done this, or I feel like it's actually so exciting, and it's really like invigorating to be able to do this or feel that, or, you know, but you're also still playing a role to some extent, obviously, aren't you? Kind of a different version of yourself. And also people who have known you, I felt this, other people who have known me for a while treat you differently as well. Because suddenly you're like, you kind of have a different, a sort of, not my family or my closest friends, but people that knew me or know me a little bit, maybe treat you slightly differently. But yeah, and like, as you say, you see from a distance, if you know, you can see people working in these industries, as you say, working together, and if they look like they can be like best mates and stuff. But because the nature of the industry means people are often very, very busy, then there's really not enough time even to like enrich those friendships. Because to be honest, like, it's a rarity, and it's a great thing when real friendships do happen, and I've experienced some of that. certainly my people on Snowpiercer, I would count like most of them as being like genuine friends. But because most of them live in LA and I live in London, I will hardly ever see them. And so like I'll see them if I'm in LA or something like that, and we'll catch up and we'll hang out and stuff. But just by nature of the lifestyle, I can't really consider them like my closest friends. But yeah, as I said, it is strange because equally I would trust some of them to really be able to like sit down and talk and listen and have deep conversations about stuff, because they're the sort of people that can do that. But at the same time, they're not people I can really sort of invest in, because I can't inevitably see them or spend time with them in terms of curating a proper friendship. So yeah, it's a kind of strange thing. And as I said, the busier one gets, the more one is in this world, the more of those things will happen, the more friendships you'll have, but the less true friendships you'll have, I think.
Yeah.
People that really know you. Yeah.
Growth and lessons, isn't it? Each step, it's like you have to learn something else, but it makes us stronger. So I've just got one question for you. I ask every single person that comes onto the podcast, out of everything that you've learned, what you've gone through in the past year, just in terms of yourself, what does it mean to you to be imperfectly perfect?
I guess that, well, what that says to me, what that kind of makes me feel, is basically just hopefully getting to a point where I understand myself, I understand my flaws, which I have, and I have a lot of them, and I'm definitely understanding them and accepting them more and more. I think I actually am coming to a point of, hopefully, of acceptance in who I am. You know, I've had a lot of insecurities in my life and in my growing up in my childhood, and like as I got older, and I do think over the past period of time, especially the past 2 years, I think because a lot of stuff was put in perspective about what really matters, our health and our people we love and care about, life and death. It means like, why do I care if my, like, I don't know, if my hair looks rubbish today or whatever? It doesn't matter. And so I think a lot of my sort of recent life experiences allowed me to accept myself a lot more and say, yeah, I'm happy, hopefully happy with who I am and what I'm offering to the world. And hopefully because of that journey of acceptance, I'll be able one day to well, in all aspects, accept others as well, and not put expectation or anything on other people, particularly friendships and like loving relationships as well. And I guess in that sense, you can say, well, I'm not perfect, I'm imperfect, but I'm happy to be imperfect. So that's probably what I'd say. Yeah.
Love it. Well, I just want to say thank you on behalf of coming on the campaign, having a chat. Where
really
can
nice.
people find out more information about you? Obviously, you've got another season of Snowpiercer coming up. Any other projects in the pipeline with your music, especially?
Yeah, well, I really hope to do more music. I'm building upon that, and I'm like I'm spending more and more time trying to write my own things. And what I'd really love to do is to do something where I get to sing like in a proper capacity, whether that be on stage or screen or whatever, like a role that has singing as a part of it. I'm still hoping to do one of those at some point. I've been auditioning. I have auditioned for a lot of things over the years where I get to sing as well. So hopefully that'll be something I can do. But I really hope to write my own and bring my own music, and that will be something that I'll be getting out, I'm sure, at some point before long. So watch this space. Otherwise, Snowpiercer has me for a while yet, and then at the end of the year, we'll see. But just finished this play, which was an amazing experience. I'd love to do some more theatre. So I'm just sort of keeping my options open outside of Snowpiercer, because we have contracts and stuff are very kind of keep us quite close. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm excited for the future.
So where can people find you?
Well, Instagram, Twitter. My thing is Sam Otto. I think it's _ Sam Otto on Instagram and Sam _ Otto on Twitter, I think, to make things confusing. I do have a YouTube channel, which I literally just made, but that's all that has on it is the song I did for Snowpiercer. So I'll probably put some more stuff on that at some point.
Yeah.
But Instagram and Twitter are the kind of main ones, I'd say. Well, mainly Instagram, I reckon, is probably the main one at the moment. But I'll try and branch those out.
Sweet. Well, all the best with it. And guys, please remember, I'll put all the links up to where you can find Sam. Please make sure you check into all the latest episodes of Snowpiercer as well. It is an incredible series, guys. Until next time, keep having the hard conversations, because it's the hard conversations that save lives.